Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing fantastic out there tonight and having a great ending to your day, a great work week out there so far. Got you a big update tonight talking about what's going on with the rest of this winter storm that will be ongoing the rest of the work week all the way through our Friday. And then towards the second half of the video, we're going to take a peek at what I think is going to be even more of an active weather week next work week. Of course, we're not going to get super detailed into that because that's next week and we're still in the middle of this week. But I think we're going to have severe weather, even more of a high-end severe weather threat than what we've seen today. Could be much more higher. And I think that we have the potential for things to get very active in the eastern U.S. Not really talking about the southeast. I know it's just the same old story here in the southeast. We pretty much done went the full spring mode. Heck, it even feels like summer, early summer in certain areas of the southeast. It's quite ridiculous. Hit 81, 82 degrees at my house here in Columbia, South Carolina. But areas of the northeast could get into a very active wintry pattern to end February and to start March. And you never know what March is going to bring, okay? So I know a lot of people are renting off winter, and I've heard a lot of chatter about people in the northeast writing off winter. So you might bite the bullet with this, but we'll see what happens. We're going to talk about some things, but of course in the beginning of the video, we're going to break down the rest of this winter storm we're dealing with right now because it's still, the meat of it still has to pull through, so we need to talk about that. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I'm on that journey to 40K, trying to get to 40,000 subscribers maybe by the middle of March. That'll be an awesome accomplishment for me and this channel, and you guys also. You guys are part of the family, and I really appreciate y'all so much. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about, you all know the deal. Put it in the comments below so I can pray over it. And as you guys can tell, other people pray over it too. Prayer is powerful. Let's take advantage of that. It's a way to glorify God, and we're all here to do that for sure. So let's get rocking tonight. Not a whole lot of tabs pulled up, as you can see. We're going to spend some time on each panel, try to figure this out for you guys. There's a lot of alerts out there. Blizzard warnings in the red. Pink as winter storm warnings. This purple shade right here, winter weather advisories. Ice storm warnings up for the ongoing ice storm that's ongoing right now. Somebody sent me a video out of the western Milwaukee area, and it looks like you guys are just getting an all-out sleet storm. But of course, you guys let me know what you're seeing. I would love to know. It's awesome to know that we picked up more views and just more subscribers, more viewership, whatever you want to call it, from people in other areas of the country besides the Southeast. Had a comment saying, Mitch, you need to focus just more on the Southeast. Well, part of growing this channel is talking about other areas. And I mean, if we're being honest, nothing really is going on here in the Southeast. It's just warm, like warm as in like 20, 25 degrees above average warm, even warmer tomorrow. And we're just kind of stuck in the ridge, and nothing really happens much in the ridge of high pressure, but a lot going on around it. So we need to talk about these because, everybody needs to know what's going on with the weather, especially when it's active like this. Winter storm warnings up for the interior northeast. And like I said, ice storm warnings in purple. And we have some exceptionally rare winter weather alerts out here in California. I mean, just unreal. You got winter storm warnings up all the way to the coastal regions of California. Blizzard warnings in LA County. It's ridiculous, guys. It really is. Just some of the stuff we're seeing out here is unreal. It really is, with just this deep digging trough that's just bringing a lot of cold air. So let's break down this storm. We're going to focus on the upper Midwest and the Northeast. For you folks a little bit further west, if I'm leaving you out, I do apologize. Just want to focus in on the meat of the rest of this storm. Most of the rest of the storm is kind of going to pull off for you guys in the Dakotas overnight until tomorrow morning. So we're going to talk about here for you folks in Minnesota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, places like that, Iowa. So we'll start off right now. We look at the radar, what's going on. I only have the radar out of Minneapolis up. It's snowing. I have a feeling snowfall totals are going to underachieve than what was originally forecast over the last 24 hours. Just a gut feeling. I'm going to love to know the actual final tally. It's going to be interesting, but we'll see what happens. Down here where I do not have the radar pulled up, for example, just north of Des Moines and south of Des Moines, south of Des Moines, more of just freezing rain. You got sleet being reported north of Des Moines. Omaha, a little bit of freezing rain action down here. You got a report of slick surfaces. Milwaukee, it's a mixed bag. You got some reports of snow, some reports of sleet. Just north and northwest of Chicago, you got freezing rain falling, and then Grand Rapids reporting a lot of sleet with some freezing rain mix. A little bit further south, it's all freezing rain, and just that nasty corridor of ice really setting up probably right into here where it's an all-out ice storm. Probably somewhere in here you got more so probably sleet and then all snow up here. So there's a bunch of squiggly circles for you guys. But if we see what's going on like in Boston right now, for example, that frontogenesis band actually performed well. I had a viewer that views from, I think, Lewistown, Pennsylvania, which I believe is in this part right here, Pennsylvania. It was thumping snow, and they didn't even have any winter weather advisories. This thing's kind of doing well in southern New England right now. You got snow being reported south of Boston. So you guys are going to get a thump of snow probably really quickly. Will it accumulate to much? Not sure. You guys let me know, but it will be interesting to see what happens. But let's talk about the duration of this event. It'll continue overnight. I think that sleet snow line will inch a little bit further north, where you guys in Milwaukee probably will not be seeing much snow, more so of a mixture of sleet. And this will continue, okay? Just all snow up here, heavy snow. We're getting into the middle of the night tonight. It is still snowing, maybe a little, not really a break, but the precipitation lightens up here in Wisconsin very briefly. And then, pretty much down here, the dry slot kind of moves in, and you're pretty much done with the storm as you get into the overnight hours down here. Now, here comes another low pressure that develops right into here. This delivers an additional blast of frozen precipitation as we're getting into the wee hours of the morning tonight, into tomorrow morning. This will bring another round of heavy snow from Minneapolis, Rochester, into Wisconsin. Before this storm pulls out, this little last push of snow tomorrow morning for Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan could be quite heavy. Could dump 1 to 2 inch per hour rates in this area. And then another round of freezing rain potentially as this low pressure. See, the thing is this first low pressure is kind of tracking more so like this, if you will. The second low pressure is going to come in and kind of do like that. So this is going to bring kind of more warm air aloft into the surface a little bit further north, but it's still all snow up here for sure. So we're going to try to use these squiggly lines a little bit more so I can get a little bit more used to it. So yeah, I mean, that's the duration of the event. It pulls out. Let me see if I can keep it going here. And then after the main kind of shield of precipitation moves through tomorrow afternoon, you'll have some lake effect snow streamers kind of moving north to south off Lake Superior into the UP of Michigan with a weird little streamer setting up here. That's kind of just a weird little streamer moving off Lake Michigan down here into Michigan, but we'll see what happens there. For the Northeast, and we'll talk about snow accumulations for the rest of the event here in a second. HRRR model performing pretty well. It was looking really warm at first with this storm, then it kind of trended colder. But really a good thumping of snow. So someone's going to get dry slotted into here. So whoever stays all frozen precipitation up here in the northern sections of New York State, Vermont, and New Hampshire will certainly see the most winter weather and snow. For example, there's going to be a pretty significant corridor of sleet somewhere into right in here in northern Mass, maybe southern Vermont, New Hampshire. Freezing rain setting up for central New York State. Somebody asked me, why did they not issue high storm warnings for New York State? Well, that's because the dry slot is going to prevent a ton of freezing rain from falling, just a ton of precipitation from falling in general as we get into the overnight hours. And there's going to be probably some kind of dry slot that develops right into here, points south. But whoever stays, basically all moisture up here, is going to get the most winter weather because it's cold enough. It's cold enough up here in this region for all frozen precipitation. So we'll get off that, close that eyeball again, and we'll keep rolling. But we continue to get this going into tomorrow morning, and you're dealing with a nasty kind of mixture of sleet and freezing rain in Massachusetts, even mixing here in Boston. It'll be interesting in Boston. I think just north of town, you guys can remain maybe frozen precipitation, but Boston, you're right on the fringe of staying mostly frozen precipitation the entire storm. Snow, absolutely not, but maybe sleet, freezing rain. Got to watch. If you actually go and look at the advisories, you guys are now under a winter weather advisory. Well, this morning, they weren't thinking that was going to be the case. But they weren't as confident that you guys were going to get appreciable winter precipitation. But this continues. We're getting into tomorrow morning, still snowing pretty good for the southern half of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. This continues. There'll be a little break. Additional freezing rain. You guys are going to get a glazing of freezing rain, even in Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York. And then heavier snow moves in further north. So I think Caribou, northern sections of Maine, as we're getting into tomorrow evening, really gets into some more snow. And then we're going to get some lake effect snow streamers to kind of pop off Ontario or Erie, maybe sometime in the middle of the night, Thursday night and Friday morning. So snow from this, take a few inches off this because it always initializes with a couple inches. So I think it's possible you can get another 8 to 12 inches in Minneapolis. Milwaukee, I think you're going to get a mixture of a couple inches of sleet, maybe a couple inches of snow. You might not see any more snow in Milwaukee. Chicago, certainly not going to see anything. Down here to Des Moines, just going to stay freezing rain or sleets. But an additional, easily a foot up here in the UP of Michigan. And just widespread 8 to 12 inch totals in the northern half of Wisconsin and also the northern half of Michigan. Freezing rain totals, some of this has already fell. But I think there's still going to be just a widespread corridor right into here of an additional maybe quarter inch of ice right into this area on top of whatever freezing rain you guys already have right now. Okay, so be aware of that. More freezing rain to come. We're not done, but it will begin to lessen in this area. Okay, overnight tonight as a dry slot kind of moves in and you have just lack of precipitation. Up here, you kind of continue just the swath of moisture, frozen precipitation, and this up here would be snow. So get that off. And so we'll move a little bit further east. Snowfall basically this is the rest of the event between both pushes, the one moving in now and the one that will move in tomorrow. Same deal, guys. Northern section of Vermont, New Hampshire, New York State, and basically central to southern sections of Maine. 8 to 12, 13, 14 inches of snow is possible. Down here, I keep bringing it up. Down here, I would say in this kind of area right into here, you could get kind of a sleet mixture. You could get accumulating sleet, maybe a couple inches of sleet. It's certainly possible. Okay, now we look at the freezing rain with this. And watch out Western Mass. You guys could get right in here, even Central Mass. There's a valley right here, Mass right here. That's why you're seeing less totals, less cold air. But Western Mass could get a nasty ice storm from this. In fact, I'm kind of surprised there's no winter storm warnings extended into Massachusetts. Kind of surprised. I think we might get some more winter storm warnings extended a little bit further south just due to a nasty icy mixture. But we'll see what happens. City of Detroit under an ice storm warning. I'll be honest, I didn't even realize that. That's pretty wild. You guys let me know what you're seeing in Detroit. I know Detroit's a city I don't mention a whole lot, but certainly is a big city. So you guys let me know if you're watching from Detroit. Let me know what you're seeing out there. I'd be highly interested because a lot of the models just show a lot of rain. Not necessarily freezing rain, but mostly rain. But anyways, we're talking about the Northeast here. The middle of New York State, good a tenth to a quarter of an inch of ice. Buffalo, they're going for some pretty appreciable ice, anywhere from a tenth to 2/10 of an inch of ice. So that's pretty much it on that winter storm. We'll give you another update in the morning, of course, like we always do. But let's start moving into next week. High confidence, guys, that there's going to be a severe weather event. Is it going to be an outbreak? It's hard to say. I'm not going to call it that yet. But at day 5, which is this coming Sunday, the tail end of the weekend, there's a 30% risk of severe weather within 15 miles in any given location. So that is an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, at day 5. It's pretty uncommon. I saw a statistic somewhere on Twitter that said I think 73 or 74% of the time, these end up verifying as at least an enhanced risk. No, I think it said, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I think it said 24, 25% of the time it ends up verifying as an enhanced risk when it gets to day 1. Verifying as in storm reports, that's not what I mean, but it maintains an enhanced risk if it's issued at day 5. I think there's been 17 day 5 risk, enhanced risk. And they said like 73, 74% of the time there's been an enhanced risk at day 5. It has been upgraded to either a moderate or high. So that tells you kind of the seriousness of this. So this could get extended. It could be tweaked one way or the other. I wouldn't be surprised if day 6 they issue a 15% risk a little bit further east. But I'm also watching a severe weather potential, especially what the Euro is showing late next week. But that's pretty far out. That's past 7 days out. I think next week it's going to be very active, though, guys. It really is. I think it's going to be a very active last few days of February for sure. But 30% risk of severe weather occurring within 25 miles in any given location. That's an enhanced risk at day 5. It's a big deal, guys. This is something you typically see a little bit later in the year, more so in like April or May. But here we are in February, okay? So we'll kind of break down what's going to happen. At least we'll talk about the ingredients because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Sunday morning, we'll start this off. A rapidly deepening low pressure fires off the front range. These typically bring snow to areas like Denver and Boulder, the front range. But here it is. Look how quickly it deepens. Okay, it goes from like an above 1,000 millibar low pressure right into here to within less than 24 hours. It's a sub 990 millibar low pressure. And I know this just shows a bunch of green right into here, but this down here would be probably ongoing severe weather right into here. You're probably going to have multi-storm mode. You'll probably have an initiation of supercells that will eventually congeal into a linear kind of threat and will become a damaging wind threat. But any supercells that form in the environment showing up for Sunday are going to have a high chance to produce a tornado. So we got to see, and this will eventually, work east, and like all weather does. So that's when we watch into our Monday, or just Sunday night into Monday. So we're not obviously even close into short-range model guidance yet, but this is the system we watch. And this is the same. I mean, look, by the time we're getting into like Monday morning, it's a sub 980 millibar low pressure. It is strengthening. It's negatively tilted, which we all know. Well, we all don't know it, but I try to talk about it a lot. When a trough gets negatively tilted, which when it has that negative tilt, this is what it looks like right here. When it kind of has that bowing out negative tilt like that, that means it's a strengthening system. The dynamics are really maxing out. There's not a lot of cold air by, okay? But this very well could, eventually, as we get a little bit early into next week, bring another winter storm for you guys up here in the upper Midwest. But I mean, this is going to create another strong wind event also. Probably Monday for the Ohio Valley. And not just the Ohio Valley, but the Mississippi Valley. There's probably going to be a lot of strong winds, probably Sunday into Monday, all throughout this region right into here, because you have a negatively tilted strong storm system moving to the north. I'm telling you, next week's going to be crazy. It is. There's going to be some active weather next week. Okay, so when we talk severe weather, of course, we kind of look for the ingredients, right, at this range. So one thing we know, and we're going to work with pivotal weather. You guys bear with me because we're going to do this a little bit on the fly. We'll start this Saturday evening. As you can tell, this is dew points, not temperatures. Dew points into the 50s down here. Watch as this moist air builds as we're getting into Sunday morning. You got dew points in the 50s rising into Oklahoma. Dew points in the 50s can support severe weather when you have other kinematics in place, the wind energy. But a lot of times you really need dew points to get firmly into the 60s. As we're getting into Sunday afternoon, look at these dew points getting well into the 60s, into Oklahoma. And this is where that enhanced risk is, right into here. Dew points, there's a little bit of a dry line. It's not a crazy stout dry line, but for February standards, it absolutely is. Dry line meaning you got really dry air to the west of this literal line, cold front, and then pretty moist air to the right. Sometimes you can physically see these dry lines where you have really clear skies on the dry side and bubbly cumulus clouds on the other side, the moist side. So this is basically your big moist sector. Dew points rising deep into the 60s, all the way into Oklahoma City, Tulsa. So this looks more like the dry line right here. This is getting into probably late afternoon, early evening, Sunday PM. Okay? That is a pretty stout dry line for late February standards. And you're going to have the initiation probably of supercells probably somewhere along here. And then eventually this will turn to kind of a line of storms and work in that general direction. That's the idea as of right now. But this is when you have a dry line situation, you have the clashing of two different air masses. Normally when you have the clashes of two different air masses, it normally upsets the atmosphere, which causes these supercells, in a way to put it. So dew points there. Next thing a lot of people want to obviously see is, what is the Cape looking at? We look at the mixed layer Cape. And like I said, we're going to do this on the fly. Y'all bear with me. We're going to take it out to Monday. Look at the Cape that builds. Well, Sunday. If I've said Monday at any point, I meant to say Sunday. I do apologize. But you got the Cape that builds. Sparks above 1,000 joules per kilogram right in this area. I know you're thinking, well, that's not a ton. It is a ton. When you have these other dynamics in place and it's sparking up right around that dry line, you have pockets of Cape that is certainly supportive for severe weather, for storm fuel for these storms. So it's a pretty big deal. So we need to watch out. This is rocket fuel for these storms. Okay, and the Cape builds in response to these dew points. The higher your dew points, normally the higher your Cape can be. But one of the biggest factors in this altogether is you have about an 80 to 90 knot low-level jet potential. A lot of wind energy, well in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But one thing we really look at is the 850s, which is the low-level jet in this region. We'll take it out to Sunday. Like I said, guys, correct me if I keep saying Monday. I'm going to try not to do that. But we're getting into Sunday. You can already see a low-level jet popping off here, 40 to 50 knot low-level jet. Okay, and then look at this. Oof. It's dangerous looking, guys. It really is. You got a 50, 60, 70 knot low-level jet down here. And, we'll kind of stop it right here for Sunday evening. I mean, 40, 50, maybe a 60 knot low-level jet down here, but you're probably going to be lacking some other dynamics down here. But in general, lacking maybe a little bit of forcing for thunderstorm development. But along this dry line, okay, you got a 30, 40 knot low-level jet, which is completely supportive enough for severe weather and the spinning of the atmosphere. I know if you're thinking, well, Mitch, why you keep saying low-level jet? What does that even mean? Well, that's winds about a mile in the atmosphere, above our heads, right where you're standing, okay? So, about 5,000 feet up in the air in general. So, basically, when you have winds moving out the south in this direction, you see how these wind barbs right here are pointing kind of in this direction to the south? So you got winds coming out the south here, then you flip around and kind of look even further in the atmosphere, right? So we'll take it out to Sunday. Same kind of time frame right into here. Okay, this is around Sunday afternoon. Look how the wind barbs are coming out the south too, but they're coming more out the southwest. So you basically got winds coming out the south like that, and then you got above it, you got more winds, like you got winds like this, and then you got more winds coming like this. So this is going to obviously put a spin to the atmosphere because they're coming at two different directions. We call that directional shear. There's speed shear. It's all kinds of shear. But in general, this is going to aid in a spinning in the atmosphere. And, there is going to be an intense mid-level jet in this area. So, pushing 80, 90 knots. So difference in speeds, difference in directional twisting, if you will. You're going to have some rotating updrafts up here for sure. So one thing also that I'll mention, okay, this same storm system will eventually work its way east. And look what happens, guys. This is going to make a lot of people in the Northeast drool a little bit for who are winter weather fans. First off, I'll mention Saturday, there could be a little bit of a rain snow event for northern VA, maybe even Washington, D.C. This won't be a big deal. We'll talk about it more as we get closer. But as we're getting into next week, we're getting to Monday. Here comes that low pressure, right? Here it comes. A lot of winter weather again for the upper Midwest. But then a secondary low develops. There's almost a transfer from this low pressure to this one. And what happens here is you have kind of a transfer of cold air right here. So, if you were telling me that the Northeast was about to get a major winter storm, I would say, maybe the interior Northeast. But it's that kind of Miller B scenario where you lose this this low pressure still here, but it's a transfer to the coast. So this becomes the more dominant low pressure. You got plenty of cold air. And look at this. Tuesday morning, to wrap up their last day of February, everybody saying winter is over. Here's you a big old winter storm to kick off the ending of February to the 1st of March. And this is big, right? But look, as you are getting into, next Tuesday night, overnight, next Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, this thing begins to rapidly strengthen, turn into a nor'easter, and starts to blast southern New England, southeast New England with extremely heavy snow. And And if you keep the run going, you get hit again on March 3rd. I'm not saying you literally are going to get hit again, but I'm just saying, it's pretty wild. And one thing I'll say is the GFS, with the same kind of scenario, guys, it's trended towards the Euro. Shows a big winter storm. And for you folks in like New York City, Long Island, it's close. It is. You guys are right into here. You're right on that rain snow line. But this is in the medium. I would consider 134 hours, 35 hours in the medium range. So it's not like we're talking about a Fantasyland storm. Now the trend this year has been for this to shift north because the southeast ridge shifts just stuff north. It always does. But for now, this is a good look for southern New England and obviously interior New England. But I mean, look, this is next Tuesday morning, all out snowstorm for the Northeast. And yes, this will be the I-95 corridor from New York City to Boston. And both the GFS and the Euro are in incredible agreement right now. They really are. And you look at the European ensemble right now, this is what's going to fall from this storm that we're dealing with right now. So ignore this. But look, let's take it all the way out till about March 3rd. Look at this huge increase. Did you see it? You saw how brighter the colors got, the higher the numbers got? That is from that storm signal the last day of February into the 1st of March. And then even if you keep it going just 10 days out, I mean, as we're heading into March, we're losing the true grip of winter. You guys might get your most snow coming up. So winter is not over. It's not over up here. Now for the southeast, it's hard to tell. But we've had some crazy things in the March in the southeast. I'm not ready to rule out anything yet. Because let me tell you, you're in the southeast, I would not be surprised one bit for in the 80s and then turn around 2 weeks from now we get a winter storm in the southeast. It just wouldn't surprise me. It would just be like, well, we should have saw this coming. And trust me, I have a weird feeling about something in March, even for us in the South, but it's not a prediction and it's not based off anything. It's just a feeling. So, but anyways, back to the Northeast. This is a solid signal for you guys. And then you look at the GFS ensemble. Okay. Still a solid look. Okay. You got over a foot mean in Boston. I mean, even down here in New York City, 4 to 6 inch snowfall mean. And I mean, I know a lot of this is from what's going to fall over really just up here. It's really what you're seeing on the map right up here, kind of. That's more, a lot of that is added to what's about to fall here in the next 24, 48 hours. But down here, guys, this is what potentially could be on the way. Okay, so active times ahead. I do think it is. Yeah, a lot of folks that just want to write off winter. There's a chance this could trend south. It could maybe get Philadelphia, Baltimore into the mix. There's a chance, guys. It is. So interesting times next week. I really think it's going to be an extremely active week. So stay tuned. We're going to keep you covered. That's all I got. God bless all y'all, and I'll be with y'all in the morning.